Ganaragnatam Pitam Tam Sativam Satvaitam Sardutam Pajanasaitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Saganalita Shivishakam Vitam Shah He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jyatpate Gopesha Goprakanta Radhakanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavanashri Vrishabhana Sutadevi Pranamama Haripriya Vachakalpa Vishakri Prasnavi Vishapadnam Pavanabhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namo Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Vastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Saraswati Namani Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Vastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharani Nirvishesha Srinyavati Praskachai Desatarani Srila Prabhupada Ki. So today we will discuss chapter 2 of the Bhagavad Gita, verses 50 till 59. But we will especially focus on the second part, where Arjuna is asking a question to Lord Krishna. Arjuna is asking a question that how can I recognize a devotee? And Krishna gives a list of symptoms, characteristics of a devotee, which we all desire to become a devotee of Krishna. Means acquiring all these characteristics. So first, I will just read through the verses that we understand what this section is about. And then we will discuss some of these key verses in more detail. Text 50. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Bodhiyukta Yatatiha Ube Sukata Duskite Tasma Yogaya Yutyasva Yoga Karma Salam. A man engaged in devotional service rids himself of both good and bad reactions even in this life. Therefore strive for yoga, which is the art of all work. Kamacham bodhiyukta hi phalam tyaktva manishina janma bandha vinirmukta padam gacchana namayam. By thus engaging in devotional service to the Lord, great sages or devotees free themselves from the results of work in the material world. In this way they become free from the cycle of birth and death and attain the state beyond all miseries by going back to Godhead. Yadati ma'akalnam buddhyavyapti tarishyasi tadagandasa nirvetam shkotavasya sutasyavsa. When your intelligence has passed out of the dense forest of delusion, you shall become indifferent to all what has been heard and all that is to be heard. Shuddhi vipratipanate yadastasya sinishala samadap achala buddhiv tada yogam avapyasi. When your mind is no longer disturbed by the flowery language of the Vedas and when it remains fixed in the trance of self-realization, then you will have attained the divine consciousness. And now Arjuna is asking a question. Arjuna vacha stitapahyasya kabasa samadhistasya keshava stitatir kim pabhashita kimashita vacheta kim. Arjuna said, O Krishna, what are the symptoms of those whose consciousness is merged in transcendence? How does he speak and what is his language? How does he sit and how does he walk? Then Lord Krishna replies, Shri Bhagavan Vacha Pachahati Yata Kaman Sarvaparta Manokatan Atmanevatmana Tustati Tapahyasta Tutshate. The Supreme Personality of God set apart when a man gives up all varieties of desire for sense gratification, which arise from mental concoction, and when his mind is purified, finds satisfaction in the self alone, then he is said to be in pure transcendental consciousness. Text 56. Dukes anatvich manaha sukaso vigataspria Vitaragavaya koda Shivdirmuni Uchate. One who is not disturbed in mind even amidst the threefold miseries or elated when there is happiness, and who is free from attachment, fear and anger, is called a sage of steady mind. Stitapahya. Yat sarvatra nabhisneas tat prapya subhasibam nabinam tatinat vestitasya pahya patishtita. In the material world, one who is unaffected by whatever good or evil he may obtain, neither praising it nor despising it, is firmly fixed in perfect knowledge. Yada samarate sayam kaumanangiva sarvasa indiyartebhyas tasya parhyapatistita. When he is able to withdraw his sense from sense objects as a tortoise withdraws its limbs within the shell, is firmly fixed in perfect consciousness. Then the last verse of the section, Vishya vinivartate nirasya denam rasaparam rasobhyasa param dristva nivartate. Though the embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, the taste for sense object remains. By ceasing such engagement and experience a higher taste is fixed in consciousness. So we go back to text 50. Buddhu yuktiyatatiha ubisukate duskite tasmayuhayutyasva yoga karmasakasalam. A man engaged in devotional service rids himself of both good and bad reactions even in this life. Therefore strive for yoga, which is the art of all work. So good and bad reactions, that when we do activities in this world, which are according to the scriptures, and which are pious, that the pious activities, they are described in the Manu Samhita, and they are described in the Dharma Shastras, which is a big part of the Vedas. Then you get good reactions. Means good reactions, we give charity to someone, means you will get charity in your next life from someone else. That you help someone, so if you feed people, you will be fed in next life. That's pious. But if we do impious acts, which are against the scriptures, which are also called sinful, then we get suffering, that bad reactions. But if we perform devotional service, transcendental action, if we act as a spirit soul, then all these action and reactions, they are destroyed, are good, so-called good and so-called bad. I say so-called good because we think, yes, and if I get enjoyment, that is good, but for this enjoyment, we have to take birth again. We have to accept the body to receive the reaction. Is that very good? No, that's not good. That who wants to take birth, die, take birth? Who wants to be diseased again? Who wants to die? No one. But as long as we have these good and bad reactions with us, we will take birth. And devotional service purifies us of that, because we have to get rid of both good and bad reactions to go to the spiritual world, because the reactions are for this world. That as long as you have these reactions, you have to take birth. And we have a lot of reactions in stock from previous lives, of so many lives, but if one worships Krishna, then the good and bad reactions, they are destroyed. So that is if we don't have reactions anymore, then we are free to go to the spiritual world. Otherwise, we have to stay here. Good and bad reactions. Of course, many, they don't want to go back to the spiritual worlds. They want to go to the heavenly planets, higher planetary systems where there is more enjoyment. But it's all temporary. You can stay there by your pious credits, by doing good work. By that you can go to the heavenly planets, but you cannot stay there. It's a temporary vacation. You have to come back here again afterwards. So a devotee is not interested in going to the heavens. That is in the material realm. One must get liberation back to the spiritual world to get one's eternal life back. To escape birth, death, and old age and disease. But like followers of Lord Shiva, they want to become rich and opulent and enjoy, and therefore they worship Lord Shiva, because they will never worship Krishna. They stay away from him, because they know if they worship Krishna, Krishna takes away our reactions, good and bad. And that he takes away the bad reactions, that's all right, but not the good ones. They want to keep that. So text 52. Yadati moakaliram buddhyavyati tarishyati tadagandasi nirvedam shutavasya sutasyava. When your intelligence has passed out of the dense forest of delusion, you shall become indifferent to all that has been heard and all that is to be heard. So, when one realizes that one is an eternal spirit soul, and that everything in this world, all relationships, everything, it's temporary, and therefore it's not valuable really. It has also only a temporary value. It's all will quickly finish. That one comes out of the forest of delusion. I just was studying today the 8th canto and the story where the pastime where Bali Maharaj is conquering the heavenly planets on the strength of worshipping his spiritual master, Sukracharya. So he went to the heavenly planets on the strength by the empowerment of his spiritual master, not on his strength. And he came at the heavenly planets, and he conquered all the demigods. They became invisible and disappeared. So the mother of the demigods is Aditi. Aditi, she complained to her husband. Her husband has been for a long time in yogic samadhi, and then he came out of samadhi. And he could see that his wife was very morose, very distressed. And he asked her so many questions. Well, what's the problem? Did you not receive a guest nicely? Did you not follow the religious principles nicely? Why do you feel so dejected? And Aditi said, it's because my sons, the demigods, has been thrown out of heaven by these demons, Bali Maharaj and the demons. So I want to get them back into heaven. That Kashyapa Muni said that, oh, how strong is the illusory energy. You think these demigods are your sons, so that's what the mother thinks. A mother thinks, oh, this is my son or daughter because they are coming from my body and this is mine. But that's a great illusion. That we are eternal spirit souls. And we have taken so many bodies. We are no one's son or daughter or like that. But we are thinking like that. We are creating attachment. One is attached to the welfare of my sons and so on. But finally they will all die, and it's all going into the mouth of eternal time destroys everything. But then one comes out of this delusion, and one says, it's this attachment and aversion that keeps me in this world. I just give it up. I become attached to Krishna. And then one sees the pettiness of this attachment. Attachment means trying to enjoy things, thinking this is mine, and this is for my enjoyment. But when one comes out of that, then one feels happy that the next verse, when your mind is no longer disturbed by the flowery language of the Vedas, and when it remains fixed in trance of self-realization, then you will attain divine consciousness. So first, to attain this divine consciousness, you must give up it is said the flowery language of the Vedas here. You have to give up the attachment to enjoying the body and the mind, which is very foreign to the soul. It's just the opposite. The body is temporary, the soul is eternal. The body and the mind and the subtle body is full of ignorance, and the soul is full of knowledge. The body is full of misery, the soul is full of bliss. It's just incompatible. But one must understand that incompatibility and why we are attached to so many things. That this attachment to think the object of the senses is caused by lust. Krishna will explain in the 3rd chapter. And that bewilders us. Avatam Jnanam 18, it covers our intelligence. Because we think in terms of the body. In terms of the body means thinking in terms of attachment and aversion. It's thinking in terms of like and dislike, mine and I. But now Arjuna is asking a question. He's asking these devotees, how can I recognize a devotee? That's what he says in summary. He says, "O Krishna, what are the symptoms of one whose consciousness is merged into transcendence? How does he speak, and what is his language? How does he sit, and how does he walk?" Then Krishna starts to explain the main qualities of a devotee. And these are the qualities we need to develop. These are the qualities Krishna says of a sthita prajna. Sthita prajna, one who is transcendentally situated, because that's Arjuna's question. Sthita prajnasa kabasa, such a transcendentalist who is situated in transcendence. What are his qualities? And the first quality says Krishna says, Prajahati yata kaman sarvam partamanogatan prayati, give up yada kaman, give up all these desires, give up all these lusty desires that because they are born from illusion, that sarvaparta manogatan. Manogatan, Srila Prabhupada says, mental concoction. The desire to enjoy is born of mental concoction. That, what does it mean? When you suppose you are dreaming at night, you have a good dream. What do I mean with a good dream? You dream of that you are cooking for Gaurnitai. You cook for Gaurnitai in your dream, and then in your dream you offer it to the deities, and after that, in your dream you are eating the prasad. The experience you have in your dream of eating, it is this, because suppose you wake up and then you do the same activity with your senses. You cook for Gaurnitai, you offer it, and then you eat it. The sensation that's going into the mind is exactly the same as in the dream. No difference. And the mind proposes, this is your enjoyment, eating. It tastes so nice. But what is it in reality? You are hungry. It's a pain in the stomach. And then you must get rid of that by eating. That's what you are doing. But we think that's our enjoyment, because then it feels good, you get strength. But Krishna says, Manogatan, it is, we are imagined that this is our enjoyment. We are object, and where we are concentrating our mind on a certain object of the senses, and we think, now I'm going to enjoy. But the enjoyment that we imagine does not come. Does not come. And we become frustrated. These expectations in the mind, it is an illusion, Krishna says. And Prajati Yatakavan Sarvapartamanokavatam, that it arises from mental concoction. But when the mind becomes purified, it finds satisfaction in the self alone. So that's another satisfaction. A devotee gets satisfaction in the soul, not in the body, not in the mind. And what is that satisfaction in the soul? Where does it come from? It comes by performing devotional service. And devotional service has fundamental principles and details. And it's the fundamentals, the fundamental characteristic of devotional service, which is going to satisfy the soul. And that is, we serve Krishna to please him, and we do it in the mind with devotion, with feelings of love. If you do that with feelings of love, devotion, you will feel satisfied in the heart. And that is the real satisfaction. That it's a feeling of love that enters the heart. And that makes you satisfied just by trying to please Krishna, trying to give everything. And the more you give to Krishna, the more you will feel satisfied. But satisfaction will not come by eating or satisfaction of the senses. That's a mental concoction, Krishna says. So this is an important characteristic. Then another characteristic in the next verse. Dukkes anudvihmana sukasuvigataspriya vitragvayakata stitatirmoni uchate. When we is not disturbed in mind, even amidst the threefold miseries, or related when there is happiness, and is free from attachment, fear, and anger, is called a sage of steady mind. So this is a stitadir muni, a sage of steady mind, that he is not disturbed when there is distress for the body of the senses, and is not elated when an opportunity for sensual happiness comes. He's not interested in it. Because he knows he is out of the forest of delusion. He knows, Krishna says, if I try to enjoy, I will be captivated by Maya, and I will suffer. Therefore, he's not elated when opportunities for happiness comes. And if distress comes, he sees as Krishna's mercy. He thinks first it's due to my own past misdeeds. Second, he thinks, yes, this is very good, because now I will not forget Krishna. When I'm in distress, I take shelter from him. And then I become transcendentally situated. And vitaragya bhayakoda. One becomes free from attachment, fear, and anger. Fear and anger comes from attachment. You are attached to enjoying a certain thing. Maybe eating something, or enjoying a relationship, or enjoying riding a new car, or enjoying this or that it leads to frustration and suffering. And frustration means anger. So from attachment becomes anger. And fear. You are attached to a certain relation as it is now, and you are fearful that it will change. You are attached to your money, and you are fearful that you will lose it. Someone will take it away. So if one is free from attachment, then there is no suffering. There is peace in the heart. Text 57, the next characteristic of a devotee. In a material world, one who is unaffected by whatever good or evil he may obtain, neither praising it nor despises it, is firmly fixed in perfect knowledge. So a devotee is satisfied, whatever situation is, that he can always chant, hear about Krishna. He is satisfied that he knows Krishna has put me in this position because of my karma. Karma is Krishna's law. This direction of my own past misdeeds, and that's fine with me. I accept it. I accept it. I accept the suffering. I accept the suffering that goes with it, and I'm accepting the happiness that goes with it. I accept my situation. and then you become peaceful. But most people, they think, yes, I'm in that position, I could do better materially, so, and they are striving to get rid of the distress and a better standard of enjoyment. But then that you are absorbed in so many temporary things in this world to obtain something temporary, and you lose your time that you could otherwise use for sense gratification, that you could otherwise use for cultivating Krishna consciousness. You lose it into sense gratification, temporary things. A devotee he wants something valuable, something eternal. So that is important. You see this illusion also in the pastimes of Krishna, many times explained. Vitrasura is a big demon body, and he fights with Indra, a demigod, in a mode of goodness. A demon is in a mode of ignorance. But Vitrasur inside was a pure devotee. And Indra, he was still full with desires to enjoy in this world. And they fight with each other. And anyway, that in the beginning, Indra loses his thunderbolt, and Vitrasur said, he gives his thunderbolt back and said, yeah, you should take up, don't lament, you should fight. This is your duty. That take your thunderbolt and fight again. that Vitrasur internally was completely detached. And then Indra cut off his head. It took him a year. But Vitrasur was in Samadhi. He was just going to the pastimes out of love for Krishna. And he went back to the spiritual world. And Indra, Srila Prabhupada writes in a purport, he stays rotting in this material world. That's interesting. So we cannot see the consciousness of a person from the external. A devotee and a non-devotee may do the same activity, but the result is completely different because of their consciousness. Therefore, a devotee is not praising, not despising anything in this world. He's just not interested. And what does he do if opportunities for sense gratification comes? This yada samarate sayam kurmanangiva sarvasam Indiartebhyas tasya prajna pratishtita. One who is able to withdraw his senses from sense objects, as the tortoise draws its limbs within the shell, is firmly fixed in perfect consciousness. So that's a yogi, a Krishna conscious yogi. He can control his senses according to plan, as he plans. But all other persons in this world, they are controlled by their senses. They are slaves of their senses. But a yogi and a devotee, who is the highest yogi, he is not controlled by the senses. And if some opportunity for sense gratification comes up, he will not meditate on it with his consciousness. And his senses go far away. he retracts his senses like a tortoise when, yeah, I'm in Bulgaria, and in spring we made some walks here, and there are big tortoises. And you see when you come out the road and you come near to them, they withdraw their limbs into the shell out of protection. So devotee is also like that. That if some opportunity for sense gratification comes, he's not interested. He withdraws his senses. I don't want that. Of course, we need sense gratification, but it's according to plan. We eat at regulated times, therefore, during the day, not out of lust, regulated times, and a certain amount which is sufficient to keep body and soul together. We don't need much, but if you are used to overeat, then it becomes really a problem. Attachment comes. And then text 59, which is the most important verse, that's a famous verse quoted by Srila Prabhupada so many times. Vishya vinavartate nirasya denam rasavaram rasopyasa param drishtva nivartate. That though the embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, the taste for sense objects remains. By ceasing such engagements, by experience a higher taste is fixed in consciousness. I will read the purport also. It's short. Unless one is transcendently situated, it is not possible to cease from sense enjoyment. The process of restriction from sense enjoyment by rules and regulations is something like restricting a diseased person from certain types of eatables. The patient, however, neither likes such restrictions nor loses his taste for eatables. Similarly, sense restriction by some spiritual process like Ashtanga Yoga in the matter of Yam, Niyam, Ashan, Pranayam, Pratyahara, Dharan, Dhyan, etc. is recommended for less intelligent persons who have no better knowledge. But one who has tasted the beauty of the Supreme Lord Krishna in the course of his advancement in Krishna consciousness no longer has a taste for that material things. Therefore, the restrictions are there for the less intelligent neophytes in the spiritual advancement of life, but such restrictions are only good until one actually has a taste for Krishna consciousness. When one is actually Krishna conscious, he automatically loses his taste for pale things. So we all experience that when we come to Krishna consciousness. We start to practice the four relative principles. It's not easy. That some things are going more easy than others. Of course, that in the beginning, giving up eat meeting, is that a problem? For most of us, it's not. Because the prasad, especially when you live in the temple, the Mahaprasad is so nice that so when you become disgusted with meat, that you have something better, you have the higher taste. So we needed this higher taste to give up the lower. We have a lower self and a higher self. We must give up the activities of the lower self by engaging in the activities of the higher self. And that's important. So how to get taste? I would say one of the first things to do to get taste in devotional service is to associate with those who have taste. That's important. That's a very important point. That if you therefore stay always of devotees, I know many of you that if you have the occasion to regularly go to the temple, it can be very inspiring to be with the devotees and to honor together prasadam with them, hearing the Bhagavatam, and then you get a higher taste that always, if you engage regularly in hearing about Krishna, the in association of devotees is so enlivening that you don't want to hear anything else anymore. When you see the deity, the beauty, and you become attracted to the mode of goodness, to be always clean, and you become averse about to dirtiness and so on. So that's explained in the 14th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. And that's one in the mode of goodness will far away stay from passion and ignorance. That is, there's no taste for these things. It's like someone, they have also a different standard of enjoyment. One in the mode of ignorance, like and passion, yeah. You go to a rock concert and you hear the rock music. It's very gross, very simple. Not much you have to do. You are there and you let yourself go on the tones, and it's like a wash machine with some variation between. But those who are more advanced in music, they have studied the music, and they are listening to Stravinsky, to Beethoven, and when they hear that, they have a higher sense of enjoyment of all the subtleties in the symphonic orchestra. It's another level of enjoyment. If you are on that level of enjoyment, you don't want to lower anymore. But of course, these are all material examples. That if one comes to the level of transcendental goodness, transcendence, Suddha Sattva, then one has felt this ecstasy of being on that level, then you don't have the lower taste anymore. You don't want it anymore, all these material activities. So we need to get a higher taste. But as long as we don't have the higher taste, we are still attracted to the lower one. And therefore we must follow regulative principles, regulate our attachment and aversion. Otherwise, we will go down. So that regulation is very important to get the higher taste. Therefore, we must chant Hare Krishna, hearing about Krishna, associate with devotees, worship the deity. So these are hearing the Bhagavatam and the scriptures. So this is all required to purify us, and purify us. If we become purified, we get rid of this lower taste. Therefore, Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, we have all two svadharmas, a material svadharma and a spiritual svadharma. The spiritual svadharma is our duty as a spirit soul. What's the duty of the spirit soul? We are part and parcel of Krishna. Our duty is to serve Krishna with love. And when one serves Krishna with love, one becomes ecstatic. and then one gets the higher taste, no problem. But there is a material Svadharma, and the material Svadharma means we have all our psychophysical nature. And you have to engage yourself according to your psychophysical nature in this world. But one has to do that as a duty to please Krishna. That's so. So one cannot give it up. Krishna says 2 times in Bhagavad Gita, don't give up your own duty for the duty of another, even if it's full of faults. You have to act according to your psychophysical nature. So we have to combine these 2 svadharmas together and do your duty. As long as you are conditioned, you don't have the higher taste, you do your duty according to your psychophysical nature, you go to your work, you do your job, but you do it for the pleasure of Krishna. And then one will become purified. And when one is purified, one can do anything. But when one is conditioned, one must still act according to one's psychophysical nature, but do it for Krishna. But when one has the higher taste, no duties anymore in this world, Krishna says. You can do anything. So these are the characteristics explained by Lord Krishna to Arjuna, who asked about the characteristics of a Stitapahya, one who is situated on the transcendental platform. And that is the platform we all aspire to reach. Are there any questions, please?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, Vachadulali.
Thank you for your class, Maharaj. I wanted to ask, when we are distressed, it's natural for us to turn to the Lord. But how can we switch that so when we feel moments of happiness in this world, we can also think of the Lord?
Okay. So what you are saying is when we feel distressed, it's easy to think of the Lord. But when we feel happiness, how then can we think of the Lord? Is that your question?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. Well, of course, devotees think that if something good happened to me, it's Krishna's mercy. But we mostly don't see distress like that. So what is Krishna's mercy? But the point is that if you get happiness, and you think, oh, now I can enjoy, then you will forget Krishna. But if you get happiness for the senses and so on, you can see it as Krishna's mercy, but you feel embarrassed. You don't want, because if the tendency for enjoyment comes into the mind, that is selfish. And the devotee does not want that. Therefore, we explained here, it becomes like the senses going to their shell. Of course, we want to feel happiness and feel satisfied. But the real satisfaction is on a higher level, and that's serving Krishna. So if Krishna gives you a situation without distress, we are grateful to Krishna, but we will use that moment fully in the service of Krishna. That's important. That's how devotee thinks. It's all the mercy of Krishna. If he gives me a healthy body, then I can think of Krishna. I can engage in his service, and that's great. It is Krishna's mercy. Let me engage in his service, but not let me enjoy. That devotional life starts with giving surrender to Krishna. Surrender means what you have stolen from it, give it back. Because that's the point. If we think this is for my enjoyment, we are stealing from Krishna. Stay now. A devotee sees that I don't want that. So that's how a devotee. That's certainly one angle how a devotee sees enjoyment or opportunities for enjoyment. He wants to use this situation of material happiness fully in the service of Krishna. And he does not want enjoyment for himself. No selfish traits in the heart of a pure devotee. Does that help to understand that, Vajradulali? It was a very nice question.
Thank you, Maharaj. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So,
thank you very much for the class.
Yeah.
You mentioned about material Swadharma and spiritual Swadharma. Is the material Swadharma equivalent to, say, Karma Yoga? Would that be appropriate to compare?
That material Swadharma, Karma Yoga on its lowest form.
Yeah.
Yes, on its lowest form. And lowest form means Karmane Patakaste Mafaliskatarchana. I'm doing my duty, I'm not attached to the result. And that means acting in Varnashram Dharma. Acting according to your nature. That is. But it's a little tricky because acting according to your nature, acting according to Varnashram Dharma. But Krishna says in the Bhagavatam, Sutta Goswami says in the Bhagavatam, also Sukadeva Goswami in different places. So one follows Bhagavatam, one has to follow Varnashram, but the Varnashram, following that Varnashram is mentioned, is meant for Haritoshanam, pleasing the Supreme Lord. Haritoshanam. Otherwise, Sutta Goswami said, is Shama eva kevalam. It is a waste of time. So acting according to our psychophysical nature, yes, it's karma yoga, but it should be the highest form of karma yoga, is bhakti yoga.
Okay.
Because
karma yoga at its perfection level is.
Yeah, because we do it for, if you do it for the pleasure of Krishna, you will become purified and you go to the next stage of karma yoga. Then you will give the results to Krishna. And then you will again raise your consciousness and you will do the activity for Krishna and give the results for Krishna. And then it will bring you again to a higher level. And then you will do it out of love for Krishna. So these are the gradations of karma yoga. But we need our psychophysical nature to attain that highest level. to use it in the service of Krishna. It cannot be done in another way. You must use your psychophysical nature one way or another in the service of Krishna. It was, it was 75.
Oh, yes.
Neither praising it nor despising it. Yes,
Yeah.
praising or despising.
Sorry, verse 70.
57.
57, right. Okay. Yes.
So
Not despising it. Yeah.
that means we praise something because it's good for it in our opinion, or we despise it when it's an action we disapprove. But we don't see the whole picture.
Yeah.
That we see only what's happening, like someone beats you with a stick. Who is in fault? Is it the stick, or is it the person who beats with the stick, or is it the mother of the person who gave him a bad education, and she mistreated him in his youth, or is it the husband of the mother who caused the traumatic situation in the mother? So what's the cause that?
I think it's the three modes of material nature doing it, and that's the instruments.
Yes, yeah, but it's so difficult to trace back a cause in the first canto of the Bhagavatam, and that is interesting. There we have in the 16th, 17th chapter, Maharaj Pariksit is asking questions to a bull who represents Dharma, religion. And he has 2 legs, but he lost 3 legs. And Maharaj Pariksit is asking, who has done that? And the bull said, I cannot find the perpetrator. I don't know who did it. And Maharaj Pariksit replies, yes, he said, if you try to find the perpetrator in this world, then you go to the same place as the perpetrator, to the same hell. So we should not try to find it out. We cannot really find it out. It's so complicated why all this happens. But if you try to find it out, if you try to find the perpetrator, you want to say, he did it and he should be punished. No, the reality is that this happens to us because of our past karma. And we deserve it. We don't have to see the fault in someone else. And it's done by material nature, yes. But that's a deeper understanding. And if we have that deeper understanding, we understand what's really happening in this world. And then that good or bad has no meaning. That's what we think, that's good or bad. He's beating me, so he's bad. But Krishna made this arrangement that he beats me as a reaction to purify me. And that's good, that's the ultimate good. So good or bad, we see that's good devotee. And so that's a great lesson for a devotee, a quality of a devotee, which is not described here, or it's described here in an indirect way, is accepting everything, good or bad, that happens in my life as the mercy of Krishna. But yes, what we think as good or bad is manogatan. That we think that is good and that is bad. It's a mental concoction. We think things are good and bad, but ultimately everything is Krishna's mercy. So we must give that up, that mentality of praising and despising. Of course, we are glorifying Krishna, and we are glorifying the transcendental qualities of a devotee, but not the material things. We are not glorifying that this devotee is doing that activity. We glorify his devotion in his act. The devotion by which he does it, that is important. That everyone gets capabilities and they are all given by Krishna. It's all Krishna doing, practically. So therefore we do not praise or despise someone, but if we see a devotee acting with devotion, we are praising that. Yeah. So anyway, it's not easy to understand these things, but we must come to deeper understanding. Does that help?
Yes, Maharaj, thank you. Hare Krishna.
Good. Then we will continue on Friday. Will be the last session, and then I will have a break because then I will have to teach the Bhakti Vaibhav course for the Mayapur Institute till the end of the year. But I'm preparing already to give every week, Sunday, I think I was thinking doing it on 9 a.m. every Sunday, 1 hour, a summary of a chapter of the first canto from the Bhagavatam. And that will also be interesting.
So would it be this Sunday or the following one?
No, that will be the first Sunday of January, 3rd of January. Then I will resume. So there will be a break of 2 weeks because I'm too busy with the Bhakti Vaibhav course, which is every day 3 hours. I will have to get up very early in the morning for that. I'm preparing these courses and I have other things also. So I will have a break of 2 weeks, and then the 3rd of January we will resume. But of course, next session is on Friday, and we will finish the second chapter with some very exciting verses further. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Jai Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Maharaj ki jai.
Jai.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you, Maharaj.